My guest today on the Essential Coaching Skills podcast is Leon Sheed from Australia, who is an expert in human behavioral selling, which means to say he helps clients become more conscious of behavioral buying strategies and how to articulate the right dialogue in a natural way so the prospects happily perform self-made closes. It's an amazing skill to have, and we're going to learn all about it on today's episode. You are listening to the Essential Coaching Skills podcast, a show devoted to uncovering the systems and the secrets that set the best apart, where you learn how to take your coaching clients to the next level, while you grow the coaching practice of your dreams. So sit back and relax, or sit up and get excited. Either way, you might want to pay attention. This could be important. All right, Leon, it is so nice to see you. How are things? What time in the morning is it there over in Australia?
Oh, Doug, I'll tell you what, I am frothing. I am fizzing to be here and to be chatting with you, mate. And yes.
Is that good? I'm sorry. Does it hurt much? I'm so sorry.
It is good. Okay. Fizzing and frothing is one of the many, I suppose, languages that we use here down under in the future in Australia. And yes, it is the morning.
It's tomorrow for you.
I'm in the future. I'll tell you what, Doug, the future's looking good, my friend.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad we had this little talk.
Thanks for having me, Doug. I'm a big fanboy, as you know. Love your work. You're original OG, and I'm frothing to be here.
Hey, just to froth a little bit more.
Yes.
I think I might have mentioned to you that up to like 1 through 100 at least of my podcasts have been audio only. They've been recently put onto video where there's just like a placeholder, with my face and whoever I'm interviewing face, and the audio going on in the background. But I am converting over to audio and video, so people will be able to have the option of watching. And so this might be, in fact, my very, very first video.
Wow. All right. Well, lucky I got dressed halfway.
And so it's kind of color coordinated too. Wow. It's almost like we planned it. Amazing.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Yeah. So, but that's not why I brought you here to talk to you. So, this podcast, as you are well aware, is called the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. And it is two things. We try to get two things. It's the secrets and systems that set the best apart, but it's about being a good coach. And how do you do that? How to get the best results for your clients in whatever way that is, whatever form of coaching it might be, hypnosis, et cetera, different forms of coaching. Nevertheless, we want the best. And we also want to make a living. Coaches need to make a living. And I think you're pretty good at that, Leon. I go right. Yeah. And so I want to find out some of your secrets and systems for doing what you do so well. So Leon Sheed, I want to hear from you. What's going on?
All right.
So you use NLP.
What do you want to know, Doug?
What? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, well, where do we start? Do we start at the beginning, or do we start where it all happened many years ago?
What's the difference between those two things?
There's nothing. Well, I could chew your ear off for probably 2 hours easy, Doug. And we don't want to turn it into a full-blown 2-hour talk.
Well, okay, let me
tell me where you want to start, and we'll start.
So, we don't have to go back to the very beginning, but I do think that there was you were able to what's the word, niche down a particular aspect of hypnosis and doing some smoking cessation, something, and you made a lot of money in a pretty short period of time. I think my listeners might be interested in that.
Yeah, cool. Let's talk about that. So I got into the world of NLP and hypnosis just because I was a little bit weird, a little bit different, and I could never quite understand why people do the things that they do. And I was always a little bit more awkward growing up, and still am quite now, a little bit awkward, but that's the great thing. The awkward ones and the weird ones are the ones that when we do great things in life, right, Doug?
Yeah, keep
And
telling yourself that, Leon. Go ahead.
well, if you keep saying it enough, it's going to happen. That's what you tell me. So I got into NLP, and then just based on, exploring, as most, I believe, NLPers get into it to better themselves and have the tools and the tactics and to help other people in the world, right?
Yeah.
And as I got into this, back then I had a few bad habits. We've all got a few bad habits. Back then, I'll tell you what, Doug, and probably not many people I've told you this, but I used to smoke back then. Smoked the dirty cigarette.
Oh.
Okay. And I basically, I couldn't get rid of it. It was one of those things, one of my escapes. Okay. My main escape. That was probably the worst thing I did. And so I was really intrigued because I heard the story of someone went to a hypnosis session, and after, 30 years of smoking, boom, gone like that. No cravings, no nothing. And this got me really intrigued. And as I learned a little bit more about it, it was like, well, I got to find out about this. Okay. Now I didn't go do a session. I was like, I want to go learn it. And then as I'm exploring it more about NLP and hypnosis, I'm like, this is really cool. So I signed up, got into the training, and wow, it was amazing. Everything, my whole world just changed from, I suppose, exploring NLP and hypnosis, because I've done my blocks of NLP and hypnosis back to back. Okay. And in that journey, I suppose, I actually managed to cut the dirty habit within like one session, and I was freaking out, and I was just like, what is this magic voodoo crazy stuff? What is going on? And I was just being obsessed with NLP and hypnosis and how it works and how it works with people ever since.
So let me ask you a quick question. Did you do a session with a practitioner, or did you just do this in the course of the seminar? Was you learning how to do these things?
Yeah, so I actually managed to release myself from cigarettes while I was doing the training.
So cool.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah, because I used to sneak out during the breaks, and yeah, totally. So I used to sneak out during the breaks and, tell myself no one can smell me. And, and then as the presenter's doing this, he's going, well, I know, and we all know there's a few smoker here. I'm smoking. I was the only one. So he's pointing me out. So as you learn this, obviously, this is going to be really great for you. So they actually picked on me. Excuse me.
Sure.
So yeah, it was great. So I managed to ditch it while I was training up and doing hypnosis. Went all the way to advanced hypnotherapy, more clinical. And I've kind of used a lot of the blended NLP and hypnosis with what I do now. Before we'll take a couple of steps back, because I got that transformation and learning hypnosis, I was like, this is crazy. I'm going to go out there and save the world, as most practitioners or coaches or consultants do when they learn this, a powerful tool. They want to go out there and save the world. So after learning all these, I suppose the method, the techniques and all that from NLP and hypnosis, Doug, I went out there on a mission to cure the world of smokers. So that's how I went about it straight after that.
Nice. Oh, so that's great. So you made, how much money did you make cure the world of smoking?
Yeah, well, geez, you don't muck around, eh? You get straight to the jugular.
I thought that was an important part of the story.
Yeah. So bear in mind, I had a little bit of sales background and marketing background before I kind of went out there and started to, offer smoking cessation.
Okay.
So where things took off for me is, being an ex-smoker, I knew what the main pains and the problems and the desires were in a smoker's mind. Most people do that have ever worked with smokers before. The pain is the uncertainty and the fear of, passing early. Okay. Is the pain is, how much cigarettes cost. And that back then was, 6-7 years ago. So it wasn't as bad as what it is now. However, that was one of the pain things. What else is there? If you chunk them down and go a little bit deeper, you find out with smokers, the pain necessarily isn't on them, but also, the pain and the fear of leaving the family earlier. Okay. What are the kids modeling? What
Okay,
How is that
let me just
affecting
stop you there.
everything?
I don't need to know how to do smoking cessation. I don't know if you know this about me, Mr. Sheed, but I have done literally
Not a few.
tens of thousands of smoking cessation clients because I did them in groups. I did like 50 or 100 or 300. I think the biggest one I ever did was about 350 people at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome.
And I did that for 7 years. I traveled around and did these seminars for smoking cessation and weight loss.
I didn't even know that. There you go. Wow.
Yeah. So I know how to do it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. For me, I didn't need to worry about marketing at all because I was hired by a company to do this. So
yes, okay.
John Morgan Seminars hired me to do this, and I went out and did it. John Morgan did all the marketing stuff. He was an ex-radio DJ, so he knew how to make radio commercials. This is whole thing. And it was really convenient for me because I could just get on a plane, fly to Cleveland and do a seminar. I liked that part. Marketing was something.
Yeah, the easy part, Doug.
Yeah, it's the easy part. And I want to know from you, you go to a seminar, you take a seminar, you learn how to do these things. How did you, you said you had a little bit of background in marketing, sales and marketing. How did you go from taking a seminar in smoking cessation? Did you have to build a website? I mean, what was your story? I mean, how did you make this thing happen?
Yeah. And what I was getting at before, because I was a smoker, I kind of could drill down into the language, the messaging. So how I suppose got leads and then got bookings and clients was I leveraged social media. Okay. I leveraged social media in a way that the message was very clear. Okay. It was very direct. It was focused on the pain, the problems. And at the bottom of the Facebook post is what I used. It was a simple call to action, comment below. So I'll do these posts and on my private, I suppose, public profile and then groups and so forth like that. Because I was so motivated, I was like, I'm out there on a mission. And when I got on the phone with people from Facebook, I managed to get them onto a call. That's when they could obviously feel the enthusiasm and the passion and the certainty that I could help them cure smoking for good. So things took off quite quickly from doing this. So
let me just
put a post out.
Let me just make sure I understand. So you would do a posting on Facebook, and then
correct.
People would comment on your post, and then you would like message them or something based on their comment or something.
Yeah. So I'd say, I'll do the spiel, and then down the bottom, comment below to find out more. Comment below if you want to be free of smoking.
Okay.
And they'll comment, I'm interested. And then, you'll message them, say, hey, John, thank you for commenting on my post. How long? And then I'll start the conversation. I'll go straight into, great. Well, why are you looking into quitting smoking now? How long have you been smoking for? So I'll go straight into the qualifying phase in Messenger. Okay. Then obviously once I qualify them, I can see they are at 10, they are ready to let go, which is the main thing. If you've ever, you have before the audience, if they've ever done, smoking cessation, and then get them on the phone and then go a little bit deeper into the pain and then enroll them. Okay. Where things took off quite quickly is I was charging a lot. Okay. A lot more than the average, I suppose, hypnotherapist would charge for quit smoking. Over here in Australia, not too sure what they charge over there, Doug, but the average, I suppose, hypnotherapist would charge $250 to maybe $500 max. I was charging $1,000 minimum. Okay. And that was for one session.
For one session?
For one session. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So my guarantee was that because I qualified them so heavy at the start to know that they're ready to go now, that if I couldn't, I suppose, guarantee that you would be free for life, and it was a big ballsy, I suppose, promise, that I would keep working with you for free until you do.
Oh, okay.
Now that, I suppose, that big ballsy promise guarantee was, a very, very attractive to most people.
Well,
because you're taking away all the risk.
It's very cool though, because I think it's a mistake, honestly, to offer like a money back guarantee. That bit me in the bum a few times when in the early days I used to do that. But then there were people who were bizarrely, in my model of the world at least, motivated to get their money back. So they needed to prove to me they did work so they could get their money. It's bizarre. Yeah. But when I started doing the money back, not the money back, but the guaranteeing that this works and I work with you for free until it does, That's a much better guarantee. Much
Yeah.
better guarantee.
Well, you're offering, I suppose, the negative outcome, the worst outcome, to something that is obviously good.
Right.
Which is better for them instead of money. Like,
that's good. Love it. Yeah.
And I worked that out the hard way because I was on a mission. I was going quite fast and, helping these smokers where straight away I learned quickly, oh crap, this didn't work. They weren't qualified. They weren't ready to, let go of smoking. They had like I suppose an identity that they are a smoker. I can't break that. But when I got them out of 10, hey, they're 10, they're ready to go. There's a lot of pain there that, boom, they're getting results for them was very easy.
Okay. So let me just stop you again, because I want, in the interest of my listeners, I want to know how they might be able to replicate what you're doing here. So
absolutely,
I can really certainly imagine seeing some sort of compelling post I would put onto Facebook, and then so if you're interested in this, say something here, and then I'd get on in a conversation. But I personally would not know what to say to them after that. So you say you qualify them, you get into a 10. Well, how do you do that? What's the process?
Oh, that's such a really good question, because the funny thing is, from the story, I actually gave my script, my little post away to a lot of the other students that went through training with me. I was like, hey, I'd like generated heaps of these leads from Facebook. Here, take this, it works. And a lot of them it blew up their business quite quickly. And one thing I noticed that they didn't actually have a process. For me, because being in sales and marketing for quite a while, you got to have a process. You got to be able to qualify them. You got to be able to find out where they are in their buying cycle. Are they ready? Are they not? And the right questions to ask in the right way. So absolutely, that's one thing that I automatically put into play, where I believe most practitioners or coaches don't necessarily have a system or a process in their sales process to qualify the prospect and to move them along.
So for the people who are listening at home here, how could they get that?
Yeah. Oh, look, it's if you think about it, Doug, it's quite easy. Because you want to you should ideally know who's your perfect client. And we don't need to go into avatar and all that. But who is your ideal client that you know that you want to work with, that you want to be happily working with, and that you can get results for? Okay. So once you've identified who they are, okay, and where they should be, the next, I suppose, natural process is asking them questions to what I suppose you do to solve the problem. Okay. So for me, the first question I want to ask, Doug, is like, how long have you been thinking about quitting smoking?
Okay.
So that will tell me like where they are in the buying journey straight away. If they're like, I think it's about time. What does that tell you? I think it's about time. Where would they be to 1 to 10 in like cold, like they're not even interested, to 10? Where do you reckon, Doug?
I'd reckon somewhere around a 7.
7. Well, yeah. Well, there you go. I would probably say like a 3.
Oh, really?
Someone's got to be at a 9 or a 10, pretty much a 10. I can move them from an 8.5 to a 10. But if they said to me, oh, I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, and then the next obviously natural question is like, why now? So how long have you been thinking about it? Why now? Because I want to find their primary driver.
Okay.
I want to find how big the, I suppose, pain threshold is that I can leverage off, Doug, to move them into where I can help them. So if they said, oh, I've just been thinking about it, well, why now? Well, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, how is that affecting you? Is it affecting anyone else? So I'm asking smart strategic questions that is naturally leading them towards a sale, which ideally they're going to self-close themselves, okay? Because the way I'm asking those questions. Right. So with the questions, to go a little bit more deeper in context, the questions have to be derived from where you can help them.
Okay.
Like if for most coaches, let's talk about who's your main audience, I suppose, of coaches and consultants and practitioners. Would you say NLP is I suppose
my listeners here?
Correct.
I suspect that's correct, although I don't know for a fact, because honestly, I don't know for a fact. There's anybody can listen to this. It's available on all the channels. So, I mean, clearly it's people who are interested in on one capacity or another in coaching. And I think the
Absolutely.
likelihood is high that there's a lot of NLPers because I'm an NLPer and a lot of my guests.
Well, you're one of the OGs. You're one of the OGs that you know, the big players back in the day, which is why I respect you so much.
What's OG?
So OGs is one of the original, you know, big players.
OG?
OG, original. I suppose.
Original.
You've never heard of that?
Original goat? What's original?
Must be talking young talk. Original goat. Get out of here.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
a lot of your audience will be coming to you, based on, because you have, I suppose, a lot of connections to, you know, I suppose a lot of original NLPers, teachers, consultants, trainers, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So so going back to the question, Doug, is like, if they're looking to coach someone in mindset or to help them release a negative, I suppose, belief or fear or anything like that, that coach, okay, wants to understand where they are at now in their buying cycle. So why now?
Okay.
How is that affecting you? Okay. And then I suppose, you know, from there, why now? You want to ask a little bit more, you know, what's kind of led you up to now? You know, what's been happening to get a bit of a baseline. Does that make sense?
You're not only ascertaining, but you actually are trying to move them from the 3 to the 4 to the 5 to the.
Well, that's what you need to do.
Okay.
That's what you need to do. Most coaches that I've trained in sales and marketing, they don't have a process. They're just firing off random questions that isn't even moving that prospect towards becoming a client. You know, they're not even grabbing that I suppose that smart intel to qualify them or to find what's going to motivate them to strategically buy. So those questions have to be in place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. Totally makes sense.
Yeah, and happy to go deeper into that.
I'd be happy to hear more about it.
Yeah. So the main thing is you need to find out where they are now, why they are where they are, and how big that pain is. Because at the end of the day, the size of the problem, okay, that you're going to be solving is going to be direct related to how much they're willing to invest to remove that problem.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. If they've got a small problem, they're not going to want to invest much to solve that problem.
Right.
So you've got to know how big that problem is, how long it's been affecting them.
Make the pain as big as possible.
Well, I call it problem sensitivity. How big is that problem sensitivity? How big is that pain threshold? I call it too. Okay. Because if someone isn't in enough pain, don't believe they've got a big problem, they're never going to buy, Doug. You know that.
No.
They're never going to want to better themselves.
Yeah. When I used to do smoking cessations privately, before I got into doing the big seminar stuff, I would basically do the same thing. People would be in my office because they decided to come. So they'd already bought, if you will, the idea of being, you know.
Never had anyone dragged?
Sorry?
Never had anyone dragged there? Like their partners dragged them there?
Well, that's what I was going to say. There were people that were there kind of because their spouse said, you have to go, or their doctor said, oh my God, you're going to die, you better go. So there's people that were there for that. And then, so when I'd ask them, like, okay, well, on a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you to quit today? If I got people saying, my wife wants me to quit or something, I'd say, okay, well, why don't you just go home and, you know, happily die, and unless you want to figure out for yourself that it's for you. You know, up to you. But come back when you're ready. And
that's a red flag.
I sent some people away.
That's a red flag. And it depends how, like, you don't have to be desperate for a client, but a lot of coaches roll over there. They're like, okay, they're not quite ready or they're not qualified. I don't believe in giving up just there.
To do what?
You know, I don't believe in giving up just there. If they're saying, oh, well, I'm not quite ready, or I don't know, like a good coach, okay, should be able to chunk them down to go deeper. What do you mean you're not quite ready? And obviously lead them towards the consequences of, you know, if what's going to happen to them if they stay where they are. You know, I understand that you're not quite ready. When do you think you'll be ready to have it, you know, to release the cigarettes and have more money and, you know, start stacking up the positive. And so you're not heading towards a sooner death. So your kids aren't modeling your dirty habits. So your wife is looking at you with more respect. When are you ready for that, Doug? So
Yeah.
Good
No, it's very good.
questions.
I would do that sort of thing most of the time, and I would be successful. But when it was really like not moving, I'd say, "Listen, go home." And I think the shock of that sin, where I'd send them out of the office, would
Wow.
make them reconsider. Most of them came back a week or two later and said, "Okay."
So that's really powerful. That's really powerful what you do there, and it's something that I teach, because we're, in our mind, how we're, I suppose, programmed from the primitive brain, we naturally move away from anything that chases us. So if we're like, "Oh, come on, John, you need to do it. You need this. This is going to be great for you." You're now chasing them.
Right.
Okay, so they're naturally going to want to move away from you. And it's like back in the caveman days. Like, you jump out of the cave and you hear a rustle in the bush, and what the heck is that? It could be a saber-toothed tiger. There's something starting to follow me or chase you. You're going to want to move away.
Yeah.
Or it's like, naturally, you see like a chicken run. I'm like, "Oh, chicken." You don't even need the chicken, but you're like looking at it and you're drawn to it.
Yeah.
So by pushing them away,
just by the way, I don't want to alarm you, but there is there's a lion behind you.
Yeah.
Looking right at you, man.
Absolutely. Because he's a reminder. He's a reminder that you don't need to chase. And this is a big thing that coaches do. When you chase, you come across as desperate. You come across as needy. And that basically projects you as a threat. But when you're pushing them back and you're like, "Do you know what? I don't think you're going to be a good fit for me," that triggers something automatically in their brain. They're not used to that. Okay. They're, rejection.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it. They're like, "Oh, no." And then they start selling themselves to you. You're like, "Do you know what? It sounds to me, Doug, that you're not quite ready to let go of this. So I don't think I'll be able to help you unless you are ready now." And here's where we can put some indirect suggestions or language patterns. Yeah. So that's very powerful. Nice. Pushing them away, pull, mate.
So I'm just really intrigued that you did all this without a website, because a lot of people think that they need to have a website, they need to have this, they need to have that in order to
testimonials, case studies,
which are all very, very useful, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. I'm not saying you don't need them. For me, where it took off was the message was so simple. It was so direct. Okay. It was focused on them, that they could understand how it was going to help them. But not just that, it gave them context to how.
Mm-hmm.
In the message, and if anyone, does smoke and sensation in your audience, I'm happy to give them that proven, I suppose, post that I use. Happy to do that.
Cool.
Even got some free training on that how to use it. But anyway, when it's so simple, and it's so direct,
we can include the link.
We'll sort something out. Yeah, we'll sort something out later.
All right.
Because I didn't worry about that once I got out of the training. I was like, I just want to go help. Like, I wasn't focused on making money or making profit. It just took off. It was like, man, this is awesome. I can taste food. I can do this. I can do that. I feel like a better dad. I feel like a better partner. My wife is respecting me more. So I didn't worry about all that shit, Doug. The purpose is purpose before profit. That is one of the secrets, if you want to know that. You put your purpose before profits, you're always going to kick some big goals. So by having that clear post, messaging them, people can feel you. They feel that you're authentic. They feel like you're not chasing them, not wanting to get something from them, Doug. These are all things that we don't naturally know how it works. Like, we feel you through the head and the heart. And then getting them on the phone, like, they can feel the certainty from you that they're not saying, "Well, have you got testimonials or any case studies?" They can feel that certainty. You've knocked out the risk.
Right.
Okay. The fear. You're giving them that certainty. And they're like, "Oh, wow. Okay, well, how do we get started?" And that's where, if you ask those right questions in the right order, they're going to make a self-made close.
Cool.
So
brilliant. That's brilliant stuff. Let me ask you this, for the interest of our listeners at home who perhaps have not really gotten to a place where they can feel comfortable charging like $1,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
How did you ever do a sliding scale for people that said, "I really can't afford that. It's just I'm on a fixed income. I'm a little old lady and I only have $300 a month to live on." And
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's funny that you say that.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of coaches don't value their worth. They don't value their transformation to what they can charge. Now, when people are in enough pain and they know that this problem isn't going anywhere, they're going to find a bloody way. Okay, they're either going to find an excuse or they're going to find a way. So the same goes for the prospect, the same goes for the coach. So, when I got, and, there was quite a few like prospects that didn't have the money. Okay. Now I said to them, look, I totally understand that finances maybe quite hard at the moment. Now, here's the thing. You're either going to find an excuse or you're going to find a way. Now, I know that now that this is a problem, that this isn't going anywhere. This is actually costing you more money than what in the long run, I'm going to be helping you make money or helping you save money, so to speak. Yeah. So you're going to find a way. Now, obviously, I'm going to help them out too, because it was never about money, still aren't, and not about money. That I'll make a payment plan. I'll hook up a PayPal automatic pay and let them go like that. A lot of them didn't finish their payments, but that's cool, mate. That's cool. Like, I was still there to help them. Purpose over profit. Love okay. But anyway, just telling them that you're going to find a way or an excuse.
So you wouldn't go down on your price? No,
coaches should never go down on their price. Right. The first thing I do when I work with a coach, the quickest way for me to help them generate more revenue is lift their prices straight away, because they're all charging too low. In fact, we're all charging too low. You're charging too low, Doug. I'm charging too low. So I give them more certainty. I come in there and I give them a slap around the face and I said, look at your prices. Are you sure? Because you're actually going to attract better clients. Okay, you're going to get better results because they're going to take you and your services more seriously if you charge this. And it's a little bit hard at the start. And I was like, when I first said, $1,500 for, a smoking cessation session, I bit my lip and I shut up. But they paid it. And I was like, crap, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah.
Why didn't someone come and slap me and say, hey, don't charge $300. You charge for the outcome. Charge for the size of the problem that you're removing. Charge for the value and your worth, because you bloody deserve it.
Yeah. And by the way, that's just really especially true perhaps with smoking, is, we as coaches do remarkably transformative work for people. We change people's lives, and they are able to earn much more money than they ever could before, et cetera. We do, it's incredibly valuable service that we provide. But when you stop and think about it, like, I don't know what you charge. Like you said, it was $7, $8 for a pack of cigarettes back in the day. In New York, where I'm from, it's like $14 a pack in New York City.
Come over here. Sorry, come over here. Come over here, Doug, to Australia, mate. Yeah. We got some of the highest prices in the world
for cigarettes.
It's like $58, mate, for a packet of bloody. I sound so Aussie right now.
Oh my God.
$58 for and tell me if I'm talking too fast too. The coffee's starting to kick in there and I'm being talking fast. So $58 for like a packet. I think it's like 30s, mate.
So if you just to stop and do the math, like how much you're saving these people. I mean, not only are you saving their lives, basically, you're saving their lives and just making
it's never about the money, Doug. It's never about the money, mate.
But it is also about the money, because look how much you're saving them. Let's say $15 a pack for fun.
What are you going to do with the money when you're dead?
I'm just saying that when they quit smoking, they're going to have a lot more money to play with. They're going to be much more richer.
Yeah. What I'm getting at, and I respect that. Totally. What I'm getting at is when you chunk them down, that is, what I can give you a piece of paper now. That's the same as money. What is it actually going to do for you? Well, actually, the money is to go on that family holiday I've been promising my kids, my wife for ages, and to create those good memories. It always comes down to happiness. If you chunk them down, this, mate. You've been in the game long enough. I've learned so much from you. It always comes down to happiness. It's never about money. So, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So do you
coaches need to charge more?
Is that still your business? Absolutely. Is it still your business?
Smoking cessation?
Yeah.
No. I train coaches to charge more for smoking cessation and hypnotherapists. But no, I don't offer it anymore. But you know what? I'll definitely throw my hat back in the ring and do it again. And I listen to a lot of sales calls with hypnotherapists there, speaking to the prospect about smoke and all that. That's where I get my best enjoyment. So if I can come in there and help them convert more prospects into clients and charge more, they're going to impact more people. So I suppose lean my value and where I can impact people in that aspect with helping coaches.
So what is your business now? Yeah.
What is my business now? Well, basically there's two sides. So I work with consultants, coaches, therapists to help them, I suppose, convert more prospects into higher paying clients by helping them, I suppose, dial in their language, help them, I suppose, have a more natural sales call. Okay. How to handle objections, quite easy. Thanks to you, Doug. And that's one side. So that's the sales training, sales coaching. And then with the marketing side, I help, I suppose, coaches learn to understand how to put together a strategic marketing message that they can put in a Facebook post or on their website or anywhere in an email where they can understand the formula to, put together a simple message that their audience can understand and will want to do something from that message, whether it's an email, whether it's a post, whether it's a website, to help them convert into a lead, into a prospect, and into a client. Okay.
That sounds great. Do you still do the same sort of formula where you put Facebook posts on and then ask for responses? I mean, how are you getting your clients?
Well, back then when I started doing this, I wasn't necessarily advertising my stuff. It was just like I just wanted to do it. So no, but where coaches are, coaches can definitely do that, and I recommend all coaches to do that. Like if you don't have a heap of money to invest into advertising, leverage organic. Okay, leverage, I suppose, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you are. Okay, all those channels, but do it strategically. Okay, and the best time to start is now. Okay, now when you're doing it, and you're at a stage where you're generating leads and you can afford to invest into paid advertising, then do that. Okay. Then do that.
Okay. So the thing is, so many coaches, I mean, when I first took a seminar in coaching in 1993, I think it was 1994, from Thomas Leonard, who started the whole field. Like nobody was a coach. I mean, there were football coaches, there were basketball coaches, there were coaches like that, but nobody with life coaches didn't exist.
No.
Now you can't throw a stone without hitting a coach. Basically. And I've tried. I've throw stones all over the place. I keep hitting coaches.
Everyone's a coach. Yeah.
So
that's a bit of a problem.
How do you differentiate? How do you in the saturated marketplace that we're in? How do we find ideal clients? How do we get these people to hire us instead of like everybody else and pay, money for it?
100%.
I know it's not about money, but we need to earn money. We need to.
Totally. We got to survive. So that's a great question. How do we deposition ourselves away from a saturated marketplace? Well, for a start, everyone's sounding the same. Okay. Everyone's modeling everyone. Right. The thing, what most coaches are doing, and I see it all the time, and it's easy to change, is they're talking about themselves. They're talking about what they do. They're talking about their stuff and their language. So when, a prospect is some kind of interested, they read it and go, what? I don't want that. I don't know what that is. It's obscure to them. It's like alien language. It's like, so that's where a lot of coaches fail. Coaches need to get out of their head into their prospect's head. Okay, that's the first step. Is get rid of all the jargon. Stop trying to sound like you're this great bloody coach of the world, and just be more natural in their language. So I help. Let's say, well, one of my clients, she helps, I suppose, post depression mothers that have gone through having a baby and they get depression.
Okay,
so she, I suppose, dials in a language to, I help newly mothers become more happier, become more fulfilled, and a better mother within 7 days after giving birth, without medication, without seeing a counselor for years and years and years. So see what she's doing there, Doug, she's dialing down her language, her messaging to who she helps, to the problems that she solves, to where they want to go.
Right. Right.
Okay. So be specific on who you can help. And it isn't so much about, everyone talks about niching down. I don't believe in that.
Oh, no.
All right. I believe in, if you can be like, I used to be all about the niche, look at your avatar, do all this. I'm more about get specific on the problems that you solve, and your audience will identify themselves to that.
Okay.
How's that grab?
And you don't consider that a niche per se.
Well, we're not so much focused on what it is that we're doing or who it is we're working with. Okay. It's about the problems that we solve for these people.
I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're doing there is we're opening up, I suppose, the pool even wider. Okay. So instead of saying I work with, let's say I work with, I work with dentists to help them grow their business. Yeah. So you could say I work, I help, medical professionals. I help medical professionals reduce overwhelm and burnout by this and this and this and this within 14 days or less. Okay. So opening up wider, because it's not so much who you're working with, it's the problems that you're solving for that audience. And most likely you're going to be too narrow. Okay. Mm-hmm. But when you get specific on the problems that you solve and obviously the ideal outcome, that's when more people are going to identify to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So how do you do that then? How do you take that person to the ones? Is it basically from there the same process that you get them on the phone and you start, finding out where their pain is and identifying the pain and how that you can solve that for them in a very specific way?
Yeah. So that overall process.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for a start, you want to have a message that a 14-year-old can read and they can go, well, this is who they help with. Okay. This is how you help them. Okay. And I've got some examples and I'll link it later on.
Cool.
Now with that structure, yeah, absolutely. And with that structure, it doesn't have to be over salesy, just natural in a way that they can understand. They can identify themselves in that and they can see how you're going to help them and why. All right. Then from that, ask them to do something. So, a simple call to action is, drop interested below or let me know below if you're interested or whatever, just any call to action. Mm-hmm. Message me, drop a comment below, whatever, or in an email, reply back, or on a website, go here. Okay. Yeah. So direct them. Now, from there, let's just stick to the Facebook organic, I suppose, lead generation method is when you message them, okay, you want to have a natural, obviously, conversation. You don't want to say, hey, Doug, are you ready to quit smoking now? It's like, hey, Doug, how you been? Be a bloody human. Right. How you been, Doug? Check out the profile. Hey, Doug, got some beautiful photos of your kids there. Or, hey, Doug, I see you play the piano.
Right.
Awesome. How long have you been playing? Cool. Hey, real quick, I noticed you commented on the post about, desire, okay, about, quit smoking and bettering your health. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. And then the first question, how long have you been thinking about quitting smoking for? Oh, yeah. Great. And then question, they're going to give you an answer. Great. From the scale to 1 to 10, like how committed are you if I was to help you positioning, if I was to help you quit smoking, would you be ready to become a non-smoker for life? You'd say 7. Okay. Well, what's going to get you from a 7 to a 10? Oh, this and this. Okay, great. Well, thanks for that. I think what might make sense here is to have a quick call. And the call really, Doug, is just to understand a little bit more about you, what's going on, I suppose what we're potentially working with here, and if we are a good fit to work with each other. Okay.
So does that sound up to that point where you said, okay, let's have a call? Up to that was texting back and forth.
Yeah. And just to text, 2 or 3 questions just to qualify them. Okay. Because you don't want to waste your time and get on a phone call or a sales call, whatever you want to call it, with someone that's not even interested in bettering themselves.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That should be the first thing. Or someone that that you just don't want to work with. Okay. So come up with a couple of good questions. And for a lot of your audience, it's this, like, how long have you been thinking about letting go of this and getting this. Great. Like, why is now important to you? That's another great question, because you're taking a shot across the bow and you're getting down to that specific, I suppose, core core component of why, of what you're going to leverage off, right? And you can go deeper, but you don't need thousands of questions in that. And then, you're going to have a gut feel, okay, that, they could be a good client, and say, hey, what might make sense from here is to have a quick chat. Basically, this chat is just to find out a little bit about each other, okay? Right. Figure out where you are, what's going on, and if we can work together, okay? Now, the good thing for this is you're going to have more certainty. You're going to have more context of why you are where you are, what's going on, why it's causing this. And I'm going to lay out in a natural way, like what you need to do to get to X, Y, Z.
Okay. Beautiful.
Does that sound like something you'd be interested in?
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, they're going to go, yeah. And why? Because I've framed that call, Doug, on giving them what they want. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Is more context, more clarity. Okay. What they need, not just, hey, I'm just going to put you under the spotlight and interrogate you for, 30 minutes. It's like, no, I'm going to give you value. I'm going to help you, even if I can't. And now I back away. And here's the push-pull method. Even if I can't, even if we're not a good fit right now, I still want to give you that clarity, that certainty, and head you in the right direction to bettering your whatever.
That's brilliant. Let me just ask you another question.
Sure, Doug.
Actually, a bunch of questions were popping up, but let me ask you this.
Yeah, cool.
Do you ever do a free session with somebody to give them a taste of what you have to offer?
So here's the thing. It was such a great question. At the start, I used to do free.
Yeah.
Now, what I learned along the way is, when I was offering the free call, and no matter how I position it with value and ideally that what they're going to get from the call, which is very important too, by the way, guys, it's still free. People don't value free. But when I started testing this, and I started off it was like $27. And I just put it's a $27 consultation call, because it was a consultation call. Mm-hmm. Now, if I could help them, if I asked the right questions, they would close some sales at the end, because it'd be like, well, how can I work with you?
Yeah.
You don't need to tie them down and do the old, just the dirty sales tactics that are taught these days. So when I put a price on it, I got better quality prospects. The show up rate went through the roof, 100%, huh. and I had better calls, and they were more likely to convert. The conversion ratio was higher. And then I started testing and go, well, hang on, $37, that's cool. What about if I done something crazy? I'll put $500 on it. And then I'll add some extra bits and pieces, like the recording off the call. Okay. Yeah. Now, what you guys have got to remember is just getting context, getting more clarity, and getting more certainty from you in that consultation or in that sales call. There's a lot of value in that. Mm. There's a lot of value in asking the right questions, as you know, Doug, because you teach us in a strategic way to help them get more clarity, more context. There's a lot of value in that. And at 9 times out of 10, you're always going to hear, wow, that was a great call. Thank you so much. This is awesome. Okay. Because they're now they're pulling themselves towards you.
Indeed.
I got up all the way, Doug, to where I was charging $1,097 for a consultation sales call.
$1,097.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Why? Because I was asking those bloody smart strategic questions in the right order that they were unable to ask themselves. They were unable to go that deep. They were unable to move away from that emotion to get context and clarity on that. We're at the end, they're like, oh my God, I didn't even know that's why I've been smoking all these years. I just thought it was an addiction. Or I don't know why my marriage, I never realized why our marriage is been failing all these years. I didn't even know that I was doing that. So, and yeah, and obviously at the end, I would tie the $1,000 or the $297, whatever I charge for the call, into the coaching package.
Okay. Yeah. How much was your coaching package?
So let's say if I'm back then when I was doing the smoking cessation, it wasn't to the end when I was charging $1,097, but I would say, well, basically what I want to do is, the average, the going price for this is, 20097 or 2,2997. But what I want to do is, because you've already invested this much, it's only going to be this much. Okay. So you reduce what they paid for that consultation call and take that off.
Nice.
But prices are relevant. Okay. People get stuck on how much should I charge? And they look at what everyone else is charging, and that's where they go wrong. You charge on the value that you bring to that person. You don't charge on time. You don't charge on what everyone else is charging. You charge on the size of the problem that you remove for that person or for that business, if you're working with businesses.
Indeed. Yeah, that's a really, really great point, really valuable one, because I think a lot of people starting out in the coaching business don't get that. I think most people starting off in any sort of therapy practice, they base it on what their therapist taught them or whatever their sort of thing. It's really hard for people to wrap their heads around the immense value that you're creating for a person when you're doing a coaching with these strategic questions like that.
Do you know why that is, Doug?
What's that?
Do you know why that is?
Do I know why that is?
Do you know why that is? I believe, I suppose, where people, don't charge high enough, especially coaches, is because self-worth.
Mm.
They're uncertain in themselves. Okay. So new coaches, it's more they're uncertain that they can get results. But a lot of coaches that have been coaching for many, many years, it's the uncertainty in the self-worth and the self-value.
Maybe. So
when I get in there and give them, in my experience, when I get in there and show them, would you pay, like if you're jumping out of a plane, right? Sorry, if the plane was about to crash and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to crash in this plane. And then all of a sudden, Doug pops up. He's the genie. He's like, hey. And he's like, okay, I've got two options here. I've got this parachute here. It's probably going to open. I've been using it for years. It's, I call it lucky because every now and then, and it's only $500. Now this could open, it's probably going to open. It's good, but it's cheap. Okay. $500. Or I've got this one. It's the state of the art, Pro Jumper 2000. Now this is guaranteed to open. Not only guarantee, but it's got a secondary and a thirdary, if that's even a word, safety option that if the first chute doesn't open, the second one will open. If the second one doesn't open, actually the wings fly out and there's a rocket boost and it takes you automatically there with a pina colada as you're coming down. Which option, if the plane's going down now, Doug, which option would you take?
I'll take the second one, please.
Yeah. Why?
Because I know it's going to work. It's highly valuable.
Yeah, because of certainty.
Yeah.
Because of certainty. So it's never about price.
Yeah. Mostly it's not. When it comes to people like, for instance, I'm thinking back to, like, for instance, Milton Erickson, right? Milton Erickson would charge $40 for a session. And when people would come, like when, Ernest Rossi and Stephen Gilligan and all those people came and they were like sitting in around the room with, 12 people around the room, he could have charged for the second parachute there, right? He knew he's fucking Milton Erickson, He charged
exactly
for what he wanted. He wanted his $40. He wanted his $40. So the group of them, they pitched him like, $3 each or whatever, and they get their $40 up and pay Milton. So sometimes I think it's just it's not self-worth per se, as it just kind of is the model of the world. What you think is the value that's the going rate kind of.
What? Yeah. So the frame that they're looking at, are they focused on the price? Are they focused on the problem, or are they focused on the promised land? Like, what are they focused on
right.
to put the price on that?
Right. So I think it's important to get out of an old model like that. This isn't a therapy model. You're not charging by the hour. You're not charging by that therapeutic hour kind of thing. It's not 1950s Milton Erickson. It's now. It's what you're doing is you're charging for the change. You're charging for the
transformation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you're charging for, and if you can come across as certain, and if they can feel that from you, they're investing in that too.
Right.
And this is where most coaches, they just build themselves a job.
Right. Exactly.
That's what they do. They say they got a business, they don't. And I had that for many years.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you have a business that, if you will, if you don't mind my calling it that, wherein you don't work that many hours, right? You've got a way to
kind of semi-retired. Yeah.
Semi-retired.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Semi-retired. What's that mean for you? You're working how many hours a week would you say?
So it depends on the projects. Okay. Yeah. So predominantly most of my work is done in sales training. Okay. Sales coaching. So I'll come in there. Let's say if I work with a coaching business, I'm with them for a set destination or a set, I suppose, outcome. Okay. Based on, helping them put together a sales process, based on helping them, I suppose, training them in that sales process and, making sure that they're hitting KPIs and converting at a certain level. So, package one might be 3 months or working with them. So depending on the size of the business, and I want to charge fairly, okay, depending on where I can take them. I can charge basically on an overall price, or I can charge on equity. Now, charging on equity is kind of like for coaches charging on the result. Mm-hmm. So if I know that a coach they're getting some good leads, they can charge more and they can close at a higher rate. I know I can take that business from, let's say, 4,000. My ideal prospect would be about 7,000 to 10,000 per month. I know I can take them up to 30 to 50 per month. Okay. So I want to charge on the outcome. Mm-hmm. So I'll say, well, based on this, you're converting only at this much, you're only converting 1 out of 5. I know because we've had a conversation, listened to a couple of calls, a couple of tweaks here with the right questions, a bit of a script, and I'll train you on that we can boost it up to at least minimum 20%, 22%, hands down guaranteed. I know. Okay. That's normally pretty easy. And then from there, let's raise their prices. Okay. Let's look at how you're actually doing the fulfillment work. Like, do you need all these hours to do all this with the client? So I'm kind of zooming in there and looking at what they're doing and really analyzing it. Okay. And then let them see like how we can help them grow their revenue. Okay. Mm-hmm. And how we can help them move faster to where they want to go.
Okay.
So for me, and just to put some context onto that, it wasn't so much about focusing on hourly rate. I charge $250 an hour. That's where most coaches charge. Charge on the outcome. When you can charge on the outcome, you can increase your revenue. Okay. You've got more profits. You attract more clients and you're not stuck, going back to back and hour to hour to hour to hour. So my wife, she's a counselor. Okay. Mm-hmm. She's trained in hypnotherapy, NLP. She doesn't charge on an hourly rate. She charges about 3 times the amount more what a psychotherapist would charge. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because she's focused on the outcome.
Beautiful.
Okay. So that, yeah. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. No, it totally makes sense. Yes. In fact, I've been doing that for years myself personally, because long ago realized when I talked about the value that you're creating, like just going back to smoking cessation for a moment, saving a person's life. They're not paying $14 a package. It's all this value that they're getting for this change that you're making. If you charge them $100 an hour, it's like, that's nothing compared to what the value is that you are creating for this person's life. You're giving them back some life in a way. So it's hugely valuable.
They've got to see that, Doug. Yeah. They've got to see that.
Right. I know.
This is where asking that strategic question, like, Doug, how much are you spending a week at the moment with cigarettes?
Right. No, exactly.
Guess what? You're tugging at this. If I don't go out drinking for the weekend or whatever, I'm charging, I'm paying $250. Ooh, 250. Jeez. And how long have you been paying that for? Oh, well, 5 years. Wow. So
there you go.
Based on that, and I've got my handy calculator. So you've spent basically over such and such. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. How
Yeah.
does that feel? Okay.
Exactly.
Not only that, but like where else are you paying?
No, it's really essential to get the pain level up. It's fascinating because we're people helpers. We don't want to be causing pain, but we want to associate that pain to the problem that needs to be changed so that we can have a
100%.
leverage to make them change that. And that's exactly what you're doing. That's brilliant, brilliant stuff.
And
Hey,
also,
listen,
where are they seeing the value?
I could talk with you all day. This is brilliant, brilliant stuff. And this is going to be so valuable for my listeners. I'm really appreciative for you taking the time to talk.
Yeah, cool, Doug. My pleasure, mate.
If they want to find you, where do they find you?
Oh, look, I'm pretty simple, pretty easy to find. You can go to Facebook, type in Leon Sheed. I'll come up. There's only one of me. Then there's leonsheed.com. Okay. leonsheed.com, my website there. And what we should do, Doug, is do something a little bit special for the audience. So if anyone wants to, if anyone is in the smoking cessation, I suppose, niche, or they offer that as a service, I'm happy to give you my post, my email and message copy that you can use in Facebook and to your audience. And yeah, I'll put together a little link and I'll send it off to you later.
Perfect. Good. So that'll be in the blurb for this session.
Yeah, maybe the comments or something below down
very
here.
Nice.
Somewhere. I don't know.
Man, it's been so very, very valuable. I appreciate it.
It's been fun.
For the time.
Been fun.
All right, Leon Sheed, we'll see you again real soon.
See you when I'm looking at you, Doug. Bye for now.
This has been the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure seeing you again. Hope to see you again real soon. Come back next week when we have another gripping and exciting episode of the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. And if you want to, you can find out more about us, each and every one of us, at essentialcoachingskills.com. Thanks.